This lecture, The Consolidation of the Republic, provides an overview of the development of the American nation from 1789 to 1849. The new nation. Following the Revolutionary War, the new American nation faced many challenges. With a partner, take 2 minutes and make a list of challenges the new American nation faced following the Revolutionary War. Once you are done your discussion, advance the slide to see a list of the challenges. Some of the key themes from 1789 to 1849 include: Number 1, the continual evolution of democratic government. Number 2, conflict with other nations, more specifically France, Britain, and Spain. Number 3, expanding the nation. And number 4, interaction between natives and Americans. Here are some of the interwar developments that we will discuss with this lecture. The presidency of George Washington. Declining relations with the French. Difficulties with Britain. The War of 1812. The Era of Good Feelings. Westward Expansion. Manifest Destiny, and War with Mexico. George Washington. George Washington was, of course, the first American president. Some of his accomplishments include: he served 2 terms in office from 1789 to 1797, neither of which he enjoyed. He helped to establish the different branches of government: executive, legislative, and judicial. He dealt with the Whiskey Rebellion of 1794. And he sought to avoid the development of political parties. Declining relations with the French. The French felt their assistance to the Americans during the Revolution would be rewarded. Instead, the Americans formed treaties and trade relationships with the British. The French Navy seized 300 American ships and ordered the Americans to pay $12 million in tribute. This was known as the XYZ Affair. The Americans refused, and a series of naval battles took place until a compromise was reached. It is important to note that during the 1790s, France was in the midst of its own revolution, and by 1799, Napoleon would come to power. The Louisiana Purchase of 1803. In 1803, the Americans, led by President Thomas Jefferson, purchased Louisiana from the French, previously Spanish territory. Napoleon controlled Spain as well as France. The cost was $15 million, or roughly 4 cents per acre. The land acquisition doubled the size of the U.S. and opened the West to expansion and exploration, one of the greatest real estate deals in American history. The Louisiana Purchase of 1803 doubled the size of the American nation. Can you think of some present-day states that are located within the territory? As you can see, the Louisiana Purchase encompassed many present-day states: Montana, North Dakota, Minnesota, Wyoming, South Dakota, Iowa, Colorado, Nebraska, Kansas, and Missouri, Oklahoma, Arkansas, and Louisiana. Westward Expansion. Following the Louisiana Purchase of 1803, the American nation continued to expand westward. The American government adopted a philosophy called Manifest Destiny. The American nation was destined to control all of North America, first from east to west and then from south to north. Take a close look at the many different elements in this piece of artwork. How is Manifest Destiny symbolized in this artwork? Lewis and Clarke. Commissioned by President Jefferson, Lewis and Clarke explored the Pacific Northwest following the Louisiana Purchase of 1803. Leaving from St. Louis in 1804, they traveled westward with the aid of a native guide named Sacagawea. Over the next 2 years, they would explore the Northwest, learning more about its geography, people, and future prospects. Difficulties with Britain. War soon broke out between France and Britain in 1803 as Napoleon continued his conquest of Europe. The Americans exported to both sides. The British defeated the French Navy at the Battle of Trafalgar. However, Napoleon was not done. Following the war, the British imposed a loose naval blockade of American ports, thereby crippling American trade, and imposed impressment on American sailors. Impressment is when a British naval vessel boards an American ship and takes former British sailors. The War of 1812. In response to the British blockade of American ports, the Americans declared war on the British. The war was mostly supported by the West and South, but not New England. Battles took place from New Orleans to Lake Erie. In the end, nothing was gained by either side. A final treaty, the Treaty of Ghent, was signed in 1815. Ironically, the Battle of New Orleans took place after the treaty. This map highlights some of the regions involved in the War of 1812. You will notice that many of the battles took place in and around the Great Lakes. The Era of Good Feelings. Following the War of 1812, a growing sense of nationalism began to take root among the American states. National heroes began to emerge, like Davy Crockett, along with tales of exploration and symbols of unity, like the Star-Spangled Banner. However, most Americans were first and foremost loyal to their state. War with Mexico. Previously, Mexico had declared independence from Spain. War started with Mexico in 1846. Unable to withstand American attacks, the Mexicans surrendered in 1848. The Americans gained the territories of California, Arizona, Nevada, Colorado, Utah, and New Mexico. Westward Expansion. This map provides a very clear overview of the territorial acquisitions of America during the interwar period. The interwar period was a time of tremendous growth for America, not only territorially, but also in the areas of political stability, patriotism, and foreign relations. However, new challenges would soon arise with the coming crisis, the Civil War.